It's time for Carolina Blitz, the freshest coverage of Carolina sports and entertainment. Hosted by founder and editor-in-chief, Vashti. She don't play games, she covers them.
Thank you for tuning in to our first episode of Carolina Blitz on ESPN The Game. My name is Vashti. I'm your host, and I'm also founder and editor-in-chief of Carolina Blitz. That's a website, that's a brand dedicated to finding fresh and compelling news stories in and outside of traditional sports reporting and sharing them with you, the fan, in a way that's entertaining and fun. We are a credentialed media outlet. We cover the Panthers, we cover Duke, UNC, NC State, and more. So make sure you're checking us out on all your social media outlets and going to carolinablitz.com. So let me give you a little intro into how this show is going to work. We will be coming to you guys every Saturday, 10:30, right here on 7:30 The Game. So if you follow us, which I hope you do, on Twitter or Instagram, Facebook at Carolina Blitz, you'll know that we appreciate the fans of the teams and the passion that they have, and the interaction that we have on what we call sports Twitter, I guess. We also like to do things a little differently. So each week we will highlight you, the fans of the teams we cover, and have a special co-host. Each week we'll have a new co-host. So if you're interested, our DMs are open. Go to @KeepBlitzing on Twitter and shoot us a DM. Let us know. Make sure you shoot your email address and the team that you're a fan of, and shoot us your information, and we will try to get you set up as a special co-host. Now, this week, I'm excited, extremely excited to have our first co-host. His name is Jamal Darby. Jamal co-hosts a great podcast called Under Construction. Guys, if you aren't listening to this podcast, I suggest you do so. They come on after the Panthers games on Sunday. Jamal is a very opinionated Panthers fan, Charlotte native, and he and Rodney do a great job with that podcast. Make sure that you are following the podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Under Construction. Now, Jamal.
Yes.
First of all, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You know, we go back.
Of course.
We go back. Now,
absolutely.
I need people to understand the depths of your fandom and then your bitterness.
Bitterness?
Your nickname.
How am I going to be attacked on my first day here? Wow.
Your nickname is the Angry Black Fan. Please.
Expound on that?
Please do.
Well, the nickname The Angry Black Fan was actually coined by an old friend of mine from way back in middle school. And I was doing a segment on Facebook that was not titled at that moment. And she said, you know what, a good title for your segment would be The Angry Black Fan. And that's the one that everybody was like, you know what, that's it. They got like 100 likes and people was like, yeah, you need to name your segment that. And it kind of stuck. So,
are you angry, though?
Look, man, I prefer to be called passionate. Angry is such a harsh and bitter term. It's such a bitter connotation. I am just a passionate dude. And when I speak, I want people to listen. And people take it as being angry. Now, don't get me wrong. My teams have made me angry. That's pretty obvious. Please share with our listeners your team so that they can get the perspective. Professionally, 704 all day, Panthers, Hornets. Outside of that, no baseball team here, so I'm an Oakland Athletics fan. I know that's weird. That'll be explained another day. Florida State fan, UConn fan, born in Connecticut. That's kind of me and my dad's thing, so that's who I roll with, man. So it's been kind of rough. It's been rough. Florida State. Don't even bring that out. Look, you want to see anger. I didn't put them on the agenda, but if you really want to see some anger, bring them up. Okay, we're not going to talk about Florida State today. We'll try to keep, for our listeners, our new listeners, again, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Carolina Blitz Radio on ESPN 730. We will try to focus this on our Carolina teams that we cover. We have Jamal Darby, co-host of Under Construction. We're happy to be here. We are happy to have you. So we're going to get it started. We're going to get it popping off. Let's go. Question number 1. Are the Falcons a rival of the Panthers? Now, this week, several players were asked about Sunday's game against the Falcons and if they considered it a rivalry. Every one of the players we asked
Most notably, DJ Moore, who's been with the team for 3 years, he basically said, I never even heard such a thing. I never heard anything about this being a rivalry. It's basically just another game. So, Jamal, was there ever a rivalry? Is there still one? Do you consider the Panthers and Falcons a rivalry?
Look, I'm going to say something that may not be very popular amongst the Charlotte fan base here. In order for a rivalry to exist, one team has to actually win sometimes. So to answer one of your questions, lately, no, it has not been a rivalry lately because they have pretty much owned us. I don't even know how many games it is now. Now, has it been a rivalry in the past? Absolutely, especially if you are a fan that has traveled to Atlanta to witness a Panthers-Falcons game. You feel every bit of that rivalry. Little disappointed in how DJ Moore kind of answered that question.
Why?
I don't look. I know it's different being in the fan seat than it is being in the player seat, and the players kind of have to approach every game like it's another game. I understand that, but I want to see some extra passion when you go against your division rivals. It should be something.
Even when that division rival has been beating the brakes off the Panthers?
That's even more reason why it should be some extra passion there, because if I'm DJ Moore and I done got my butt kicked, I don't know how many times in a row now, I would answer that question a little differently.
Well, the Panthers are 18-30 all time against the Falcons, 12-12 at home, 6-18 away. Now, DJ Moore has been with the team for 3 years, right? In the last 5 years, the Panthers are 2-8 against the Falcons, and we talked about that. But the 5 years before, they're 5-6.
Right.
You remember the Jake Delhomme days? Now that is when.
That's when it was a real.
It
rivalry.
was popping.
Absolutely. Let me tell you something, man. Even more so in the Mike Vick days and the Jake Delhomme days, it was intense. Those were some really fun games to, watch or either really go to. So yeah.
From 2003 to 2009, the Panthers and the Falcons went 7-7. They had an even record, including 2 overtime losses to Sunday Night Football. And I remember personally, and even somewhat in recent years, but even the fans, I remember Falcons fans would come to Charlotte and they felt like they were coming to take over Uptown because, we're Falcons fans and we're dirty birding. And, they felt like, okay, we run this NFC South thing. And so I think that there is a rivalry. They may not, the players may not know about it, but the fans
absolutely.
There is definitely a rivalry.
Absolutely. And to take it even further, Atlanta, the Dirty Birds come out. We're from Atlanta. We're coming to small little old Charlotte. Y'all can't compare to. They're like there's smug attitudes toward the city and the teams. I will hate the Falcons until the day I die.
More than the Saints?
More than the Saints, yes.
Wow.
I know I'm in the minority. More than the Saints. And I'm going to tell you why. More so because I have witnessed in person the rivalry between the Falcons and the Panthers, because I've never been to New Orleans. I've never traveled to see a game there. I've been to more Panthers-Falcons games, probably more than any games ever. You get what I'm saying? So it's just more of a personal thing for me.
Well, I haven't been. I've been to the Georgia Dome a couple of times. I remember one game. It was Steve Smith had torched them, and we were cutting up in the Georgia Dome, and they were mad at us from Charlotte that week. And I think that the game was during New Year's. It was around New Year's Eve. Mm-hmm. But I understand from the players' perspective where they don't. If you haven't been winning and you haven't been entrenched in this culture, it's not a rivalry. Now, those Brinson Buckner, Julius Peppers, Chris Jenkins,
those were the days, man.
Those years,
those were the days.
Let me tell you what, you couldn't say anything about Atlanta. I think the last player who understood the significance of that rivalry is probably Charles Johnson.
Yeah, absolutely.
Charles Johnson.
And him being from, and he's from Georgia, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he gets it, no doubt.
All right, so the NFC South, after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost last night, the NFC South is wide open. The Panthers went from rebuild basically to possibly competing for the NFC South. Again, Tampa Bay lost last night. The Panthers are just a half a game behind the Bucs for first place in the division It blows my mind that I'm even saying that, right?
Yeah.
And do the Panthers have the talent to win the division? And is it too early to give Matt Rule props?
I don't think it's too early to give Matt Rule props, only for the simple fact that we've seen marked improvement from week 1 up until the last game. And to kind of expound on your point, I remember on Under Construction, we were talking about how USA Today in the preseason was trashing us, telling us that we weren't going to win 3 games. And the first 2 games of the season, I questioned whether we could win 5 games or not. And here we are now, wondering could we win the doggone division.
It's crazy, right?
It's crazy. But at the same time, before I say what I'm about to say, let me preface my statement. Nobody in this division looks overly impressive. So with that being said, it is a huge possibility that the Carolina Panthers could win the division. Now, I will say this. Sunday, I said this on the Under Construction podcast last week. Sunday is going to really tell us where we are. And no matter, I don't care about the Falcons being 0-4. I really don't care. Our young secondary has a big test with those Falcons wide receivers mainly. I think that's the key cog in that game. So, again, Sunday is going to really tell us where we're at. And I can better answer that question more directly after Sunday.
Now, there was a large contingent of Panthers fans who wanted to see the Panthers actually do bad this year in efforts to get Trevor Lawrence.
That's disgusting. Yeah.
I mean, why is it disgusting?
Look, coming from also a diehard Hornets fan who has heard more than enough about tanking and getting a draft pick, and to me, look, here's the thing. From a fan's perspective, I get it. I get that we have our eye on the big fish and the big prize, which in this case was going to be Trevor Lawrence. I get it, okay? But fans have to understand this. Your team, those players who get paid millions of dollars to go out on that football field and perform every Sunday, cannot take that mentality. That is just the dumbest thing I've ever. It's just dumb to think that players will go out on the field every Sunday thinking, I don't really care if we win or lose because I like that guy from Clemson.
But will it be a mentality that the players would take? I don't think if you have competitive guys on your team, I can't see them going out there and purposefully losing. Now, you could have a GM or an owner who behind the scenes will say, kind of like what we saw in Jacksonville, where you start trading off some of your better players.
And that's a good point, but I think there's a fine line between what the Panthers did this offseason versus what the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Miami Dolphins have done the last 1 to 2 off seasons. I think Dave Tepper and crew more so wanted to do a retool more than a rebuild. I don't think they wanted to tear it all the way down because if they did, there's other players that should have been gone. You know what I mean? So I just don't think the expectation realistically was to ever be in play for the number 1 or 2 pick, because one more thing, people need to realize that we are not Jacksonville terrible. We are not New York Jets terrible. We are not New York Giants terrible. So I don't ever think that was realistic.
Is middle of the road okay though?
I've questioned myself the direction of this team in the offseason. I'll answer it that way. And I don't know, because the thing with football, with their not being such a complicated salary cap, I don't think it's as bad as it would be in basketball. You know what I mean? So, and especially with the Panthers, like the Panthers, wherever they have drafted, they've drafted very well in the first round. And Marty Hurney had a hell of a draft the last go round.
Listen,
so,
I know people like
props, man.
People trash Marty Hurney, and to some extent, I understand the slander.
Right.
But looking at this past draft,
you gotta give that man his props, man.
Man, listen. Jeremy Chin is looking like a steal. Derek Brown is looking like the better choice over Isaiah Simmons.
Absolutely.
You have Yetur Gross-Matos, who is looking like
who's improving every week.
The usefulness and upside of that core of the defense.
Right.
I mean,
and we realistically have 2 rookies who could be in play for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Think about that.
Name them.
Derek Brown, Jeremy Chin. Jeremy Chin is a bad man. Look, so somebody's going to listen to this and be like, all right, man, you bugging. You going too far. I'm saying it again. I've said this multiple times on Under Construction. Jeremy Chin could be a Troy Polamalu type of player. Yes, I said it. I said it today, Friday.
Troy Polamalu?
Yes, he could be that type of player.
Hall of Famer?
Hall of Famer.
You giving him that 4 games into the season?
I said could be. Now, I'm going to tell you why I think that. Troy Polamalu and Jeremy Chin have a lot of similarities. Jeremy Chin, to me, does not have a quote-unquote position. They put Jeremy Chin in linebacker packages. They stuck him at safety. I think he has the ability to play corner if they wanted to do that. So what I'm getting at is he's the type of guy you just kind of put on the field and say, you know what, do what you do, man. Troy Polamalu was the same type of player. Now, I'll back up a little bit. I don't know if he's that caliber. I'll backtrack just a little bit. But he's absolutely the same type of guy he was.
Yeah, Phil Snow, we spoke to Phil Snow yesterday, and he had some glaring reviews as far as positive reviews of Jeremy Chin. And he basically said that he is a rookie, but he acts like a vet. Mm-hmm. And that's what we've heard from other players. Like he said he got to the facility early and Jeremy Chin was already in there having breakfast.
Right.
And so I guess when you have that type of maturity and you come in there, and part of it may be, he went to Southern Illinois, right? Mm-hmm. So having that kind of, okay, I had to grind all my life, grinding all my life. Like he might have that Nipsey Hussle mentality.
Look, man,
I'm with it.
You always want that player with that dog in him like that. You know what I mean?
He got some dog.
I love it.
He got some dog.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So we're on to our next segment. Now, let me give you an idea of what this segment is going to be about. So I call it Blitz or Block. So I'm going to pose some questions and we will discuss further, but you will have to take a side. You're either blitzing, meaning you agree with it, or you're blocking, meaning, okay, chill, I'm not with what you're talking about. So first one, Blitz or Block. Is Tom Brady a bad sport?
I'm going to blitz. I'll tell you why. I think Tom Brady has gotten away with a lot over his career, and the fact and the reality is, Tom Brady is the GOAT. He's got 6 rings. He's been wildly successful over his career, and when you're successful, you get away with a lot more than other guys have. Now, if Tom Brady was Joe Schmo on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he acted the same way, do you think he would still be in the NFL? Absolutely not. I'm blitzing that all the way.
I'm definitely blitzing. I'm all out blitz, bringing safeties. I'm bringing everybody. All out blitz.
Hey, what's the play on Madden? All smoke?
All smoke. All smoke. Bringing all the smoke. Tom Brady, what I saw last night when he dug into that offensive line, the way that he did, now I understand riling them up, but he basically admonished them on national TV and then for another time refused to shake Nick Foles' hand.
Come on.
Like, let's be real. If another quarterback had done that, if another quarterback had done
that. You
that.
mean like the guy that used to play in the city? Like that guy?
Listen, Cam Newton had a towel on his head, and he was basically the worst teammate this side of the daggone Mississippi. Tom Brady chews out his teammates in the middle of a game, and let's not act like he played the perfect game himself.
Right. Very pedestrian game last night. Right.
You chew out your whole offensive line, you chew out the whole on the sideline, and then people say, "Oh, well, that's passion." Passion.
But why is it that when Cam Newton's upset after he loses a damn Super Bowl, that's not passion? Like, why is one passion and one's not passion? You know what?
Sounds about.
Let's move on.
All right, so yeah, we both blitzing. Tom Brady is a bad teammate. Now, blitz or block? Is Cam Newton the most underappreciated player in recent memory?
Oh man. I'm probably going to blitz on that one. I think people magnify all of Cam Newton's faults before they magnify what he can do. So in that sense, I am going to say, yes, he is wildly unappreciated. The man did win an MVP. The man did take Ted Ginn and Philly Brown to a Super Bowl.
I mean, Ted Ginn is still in the league, I think. But Philly Brown really hasn't found a landing spot since.
I don't know where he's at right now. And again, Cam is so polarizing. Every little thing this man does just gets blown out of proportions I can't even explain. And again, going back to what I said, every little thing that people find fault in Cam, they just don't even want to, I don't know, they just don't even want to consider his greatness or what he has done. So, yeah, I'm blitzing that one.
I'm blitzing also. Listen, the Panthers, Cam Newton did amazing things with the Panthers, right? Amazing. Given a makeshift offensive line usually and not many weapons offensively. Like he literally carried that team. Now the defense helped, the quality defense on the other side. But offensively, Cam never really had enough to really reach his full potential, I believe, here in Carolina as a quarterback. So he carried the franchise for the entire time he was here, right? I don't agree with how they did him in free agency.
Same.
And I've been open with that. He deserved more than what he got. So you say that he's going to stay, and then you want to work with him, and then he's dropped, right? And then not just that he's dropped, you sign Teddy Bridgewater, and then you drop him.
Right.
And then he sits unclaimed for 90 days, basically. 3 months.
Do you remember that meme that was going around social media about all the quarterbacks who were signed before Cam Newton?
Oh, let's talk about that. These are the quarterbacks who signed before and for more guaranteed money than Cam Newton, who is playing for a league minimum. Andy Dalton, Blaine Gabbert, Colt McCoy, Jeff Driscoll.
Back up.
Chase Daniel.
Back up.
Marcus Mariota. Case Keenum. A.J. McCarron. Matt Schaub. Matt Barkley. And Nathan Peterman.
That's the one that stuck out.
These are all of the quarterbacks who are now getting paid more money than Cam Newton, who is playing for a league minimum and is doing basically healthy for the first time in a long time and is balling in New England.
You know, my question to that is, how is it that all the general managers and the coaches around this league, how can they possibly justify that? Seriously, like, you are paid to pretty much evaluate talent and make the best moves for your football team. How can any of these quote unquote professionals justify that?
And then the one team that he falls into their lap is New England.
So we gave Bill Belichick Cam Newton.
Wow. For the equivalent of a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. Absolutely ridiculous.
Gotta love it, man.
Absolutely blitzing. Cam Newton is the most underappreciated player in recent memory, and I think he played with a chip, sort of, but maybe not. But he's playing with a chip now,
right?
And we haven't seen chip on your shoulder, Cam Newton. Maybe not since the beginning,
right?
But we haven't seen chip on your shoulder, healthy Cam Newton. Now, we do wish him a speedy recovery from COVID.
Absolutely.
But, disrespectful.
Absolutely disrespectful.
Absolutely disrespectful. All right, Jamal, one more. Blitz or block. NBA ratings are down due to social justice initiatives.
Block. They are down due to a lot more than that. Do I feel like the social justice issues are a part of it? Absolutely.
You do?
I do. I absolutely think it contributes to it. Now, again, I don't think that's it, though. You got to understand, in this extraordinary situation we're in with COVID and, things having to be rescheduled and all this other stuff going on, you got football going on at the same time. I mean, that's enough right there. Then on top of that, you got, Major League Baseball playoffs.
Yeah.
Hockey was going on at one time.
You have debates.
You have debates going on. Don't get me started on that.
It's a pandemic.
It's a pandemic going on. So you have all these things happening at one time. Number one, people can't watch everything. And the hardcore basketball fans, the me and yous, and the people who love LeBron and the people who claim they love the Lakers, they're going to watch it.
That was really shady right there. That was shady. I caught that shade.
All those people are going to watch, but you cannot underestimate what casual fans and their viewing habits are. So casual fans are probably turned off by the social issues, along with just not being able to watch everything at one time.
I agree. I don't know if the social justice initiatives have anything to do with it. I think some of the hardcore people who are like, oh, I'm not watching the NBA because it has Black Lives Matter on the court, they probably really weren't watching the NBA to begin with.
But that's the thing, man. Hardcore people ain't the ones you got to worry about when it comes to ratings. You got to worry about the casual fans, the ones who don't have anything to do. That's like, oh, the finals on, I guess I'll watch it. And they're the ones, to me, that are not watching.
Well, I'm going to block it just like you for the same reasons. You have NFL, you have baseball, you have a pandemic, you have a general election. And usually the finals are in June?
Right.
And they have basically a stronghold on all sports. So you don't have anything else to look at.
Yeah.
And so we tuning into the finals.
Right.
Me personally, I've thoroughly enjoyed the bubble format. I like the product that the NBA put out. I don't think Miami makes it to the finals without that bubble type format.
Yeah.
And so I'm not mad about it. I got an NCAA kind of like March Madness kind of feel about it, which I enjoyed. But I think it's lazy to say, oh, well, the NBA ratings are down because of social justice initiatives.
Well, you and me both know that narrative is gonna. That's going to be a hot topic. You can mention all the other things, the other sports going on, but if you mention social issues, specifically Black Lives Matter, of course, people, come on now, that's gonna evoke people's emotions more than anything else. So that's how it goes.
All right, Jamal, it's time now for our game predictions.
Oh yeah,
of course, I want you to give me your predictions for Sunday's matchup: Panthers at Falcons.
All right. Sorry to disappoint everyone in Charlotte, but I am predicting the Falcons win in a high-scoring game, 38-35, mainly because the Panthers have not given us any reason to pick them in this game. I would love to be wrong. Sunday after the game, if they're wrong, I will celebrate like the rest of Panther Nation. But again, I don't even know how many games we've lost to the Falcons in a row at this point, and they haven't given me any reason to believe that they'll beat them tomorrow. So I'm sorry, Sunday. So again, Falcons 38, Panthers 35, unfortunately.
Well, I think the Panthers have lost 3 games in a row to the Falcons. The last time they won was 2017. They won November the 5th. Prior to that, they lost another 3, and then they won, of course, in 2015, the Panthers Super Bowl season on December the 13th. But if you remember that season, Atlanta was the only one
to beat
the Panthers and prevent that undefeated season. Look, guys, men lie, women lie, numbers don't, right?
Absolutely.
And if I'm putting my money on a team, and I have to put my money on a team, and I'm betting my house, I got to go with the Falcons. And it's nothing against the Panthers because I'm very impressed with the Panthers. I like what they're doing. I like the improvements I'm seeing from them. But Atlanta is desperate for a win.
Yep.
Their coach is desperate for a win. And it seems like somebody has sprinkled some type of potion or hex or some mojo on the Panthers where they can't win in Atlanta. So if I'm betting, I'm going to go with Atlanta. All right. Finally, Jamal, our no cap segment. Do you have somebody you want to shout out, something you want to shout out? No cap.
Shout out to my brothers at Under Construction, Kaiser Sose, Rodney Richardson. Shout out to you for inviting me today. This was fun. I got to come back. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Other than that, man, shout out to Charlotte. Just shout out to the city, man. Thank y'all for tuning in, man, and just had a good time.
No cap. No cap. Early voting. Early voting starts next week, October the 15th. A couple of early voting sites, Bank of America Stadium, Spectrum Arena. You have no excuse not to get out and vote. No cap. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in to our first show. Again, we will be here on ESPN 730 every Saturday at 10:30. Thanks again to Jamal for coming on. Make sure you're checking out him and the Under Construction crew on their podcast after the Panthers games on Sunday. You can find them on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If you want to be a guest host, again, our DMs are open. And make sure you're following Carolina Blitz for all of your sports and entertainment news. Be blitzing.
Peace out, y'all.
The preceding commercial program was sponsored and paid for by the hosts of this program, Charlotte, North Carolina, which is solely responsible for its content.